Hi, this is Pat Prescott. One of the things that I love about the Capital Jazz Super Cruise is getting a chance to reconnect with some of the musicians who have been friends of mine throughout my 40 years in radio, and I have one sitting next to me right now. He is here on the 13th annual Capital Jazz Super Cruise, his very first time on this cruise.
That's correct.
That's
It's our very
incredible.
first cruise.
Very first cruise, period. Dan Kuramoto of Hiroshima, one of the founding members, joins us right now. How's it
Right.
going?
Good. We have never done a cruise because June, our little star who plays koto, she came over on a big boat at the bottom of a boat when she was a little kid as an immigrant, and so she just didn't like the idea of being stuck on a boat. And also, we do everything as a band, as a collective, because what we do is a little different than everyone else, and so we always have stuck together as a family. This is our 40th year on tour.
Wow.
And we've done it as a family from day one, and that's why we're still together, I think.
So, and it's not every cruise that's going to bring on your whole band.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
Capital Jazz Super Cruise does
Yeah,
that.
Cliff was really cool about, he understood why we wanted to do it this way. He loves June. Who doesn't love June? Right? And so he said, no, it's important. Please come. And we talked about it last year because he's invited us every year. And every year we thankfully said, no, I don't think we're going to do this one. And finally we decided to come in. And if I can just say, the thing that I noticed on this cruise, and I'm new to cruises, but in particular, I think there's a phenomenal lineup of artists, which is great, enormous talent and visionaries like yourself who have made this music work because you're able to bring it to people in a way that touches people's heart. And that's why you're part of our love, and you know this, one to one. But beyond that, we're blown away by the warmth of everyone on board this ship. Everyone we see having lunch, everyone we see in the elevator, we're laughing, we're having a good time, and that's a beautiful experience that we didn't realize took place.
Yeah, it's hard to even explain that to somebody.
Right.
You kind of have to experience it yourself. But a community is created here
Exactly.
because when you get on this ship, you have one really important thing in common. You love music,
Right.
and you have come for the music. And I find, especially the audiences at this cruise, that is the case. They are you've been sitting out there watching people watching as well as watching
yeah.
shows yourself, and
Yeah.
you can see that.
Right, and it's that ability to connect, and I love talking to people. They go, "Oh, this is my 8th cruise," and they go, and it's like it's become family.
Yeah.
And so we have learned a lesson. This will not be our last cruise.
That's not the only lesson you've learned, because I've been sitting with you watching some of this music. Tell us what you've seen so far that has really blown you away, because I think another thing that a lot of musicians don't think about is they're going to be a captive audience for several days where they can actually get a chance to see some other people play.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, like a good friend of ours that we toured with for several years, Najee, not only did I catch his set, but he does a workshop. And he explains his love of his instrument, how he got into it, how he's taught others. Now they're going to like Berkeley School of Music, some of his students. And now we're planning to tour again together. See, it's bringing us back together again. The amazing thing is you turned us on to a young gentleman, Matthew Whitaker, I believe his name is, and saw him last night. June stayed up late.
June doesn't do that.
June does not do that, and we were all blown away. So it's exposure to the depth and range of talent in our music world. It gives us hope after 40 years that the future of music is in good hands.
And you mentioned Jun Kuramoto, who is here, of course, as well as the rest of the band. And Jun plays the koto, the traditional Japanese instrument. It is one of the things that makes Hiroshima sound so unique and special. And it's also a part of something else that I think comes across whenever anybody gets a chance to talk to you, as we did in a lovely session that we had where June really taught a lot of us about
Right.
her instrument and about its connection to Japanese culture. But one thing that comes out of that whole discussion is the band's goal to really unite people through your music.
Right.
Talk about that mission and how that works out over this 40 years you've been together.
Well, we are a minority in this country as American Japanese. And our experience when we were little kids was like everything that we saw in the media was so negative. there was not one image we could relate to as kids where he said, I feel so good about myself because I can identify with, and maybe a decade later when Bruce Lee came along, we could plug into something. But we felt like we needed a way to uplift ourselves and connect with other people. And that's why when we spoke yesterday, June talked about feeling alienated coming from to this country from Japan. But then when she went back to Japan, she also felt alienated because they no longer accepted her as a Japanese. And so our whole thing was there was beauty, though, in all our cultures. And we need to share those collective cultures. And one of our great inspirations was Earth, Wind, and Fire, the way that they integrated different kinds of musics and culture, the kalimba that Maurice did. And in fact, at one point, Verdine and Larry Dunn were going to produce one of our records. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But we've always been connected with the fire. And Maurice has given me a lot of good advice over the years. And what we want to do is make an expression of our culture and who we were as part of American music, as part of the lexicon. So as June plays the koto, which is, this beautiful sounding instrument that looks like it's like a surfboard with strings on it, but whose history is over 3,000 years old, she wanted to share that, make that part of American music. And everyone knows and has heard her because Sukiyaki from Taste of Honey,
Right.
That was June playing koto. But she's played on over 60 feature films. She's played on everyone's record from Manhattan Transfer to Teddy Stanley Clark. Stanley, who, by the way, says she is the world's greatest koto player. So she's definitive in that way, and we're very proud. She's an Asian woman. She's a woman artist, and she really was ahead of the curve, like when I talked to Patrice, Russian and stuff, about women who are the front people for an artistic vision. And June has been doing that for 40 years, and that's the heart and soul of the group.
Yeah, and another thing that's important that came out in that session that we did was to understand that she really is the current generation of a legacy that goes back to prior generations of,
Yes.
of teachers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, June comes from a specific music school out of Japan, and that is Michio Miyagi, who's the most famous koto player in the history of Japanese music. He lived from the late 1800s into early 1900s, and he sort of evolved koto music. Koto music was originally not heard by common folks, only by people in the emperor's court until about the 17th century, because it was a spiritual high-level instrument. Sometime during the 17th century, the common people were allowed to hear it. And it then became sort of the voice of the music of Japan. And June connected that because Miyagi, who's the most famous koto teacher, composer, player, had a protege, Kazue Kudo. And Kazue Kudo she was the master of koto in the world. And then Kazue Kudo's protege is June. And the irony is Kazue Kudo, because of politics in Japan, came to the United States, and on the next boat over, June, as a 5-year-old, came with her mom and siblings, and at the age of 6, heard Kazue Kudo play and started playing the koto and became, who she is today. And so she is the legacy of koto, and she is the protege of the most famous koto school in the world.
And she is the heart and soul of Hiroshima.
Absolutely.
And we are certainly thrilled that you guys are together 40 years and going strong. And certainly hope that we'll see you back here again on Capital Jazz SuperCruise.
Well, we would love to do that.
Or on the stages of the world, wherever you may be. You never want to miss Hiroshima. Certainly a big hit this week.
We got a new coming out album, I think the end of April, early May.
Okay.
So June was saying, well, maybe we'll do this 40th anniversary tour, and then maybe we'll hang it up. Because we're never going to do a farewell tour, because she says, man, that's too corny. We're not doing that. When we stop, we stop. But if we're doing the new album, so maybe we will stay out playing long enough to do this again. Hope so. And love you. You know this, part of our family. So it's an honor also for us to be with family, too. And with Brother Cliff, wherever you are, thank you again. We go back to Bull Run and many shows with Capital Jazz, and what a privilege for us.
Oh, it is just awesome. Pat Prescott here with Dan Kuramoto of Hiroshima. Good to see you.
Thanks, man.